I'm trying to do with this keynote, actually, I am not working directly with ELIXIR, but I am the Italian representative for the ministry into the research infrastructure panel in Horizon 2020. And I've been following all the infrastructures for the past 6-7 years. So what I'm trying to do with this brief talk is to, first of all, give a general idea of what is probably going on for the next Horizon Europe, for the next session, and then to see what are the key points of infrastructure, particularly with regards to biomedical infrastructure and ELIXIR. So what is going on with the next program? Well, first of all, research infrastructure, which is a part of the excellent science, will still be part of the program. But the program, although it might look similar to the Horizon 2020, is going to be quite different. The major differences are here reported because they derive from lesson learned during Horizon 2020. And this is to go a step forward to innovation, meaning that this is it took quite a long discussion in Europe, but the idea is that to go to foster those breakthrough innovation, okay? The disruptive innovation and not the progressive innovation. So, and in fact, a European Innovation Council was built to create more impact through missions orientation. This is still a box that has to be filled. We know that these missions nowadays, most of those are on stage. And we know, for example, that for cancer, there is already the board, with the head of board being yes, Ricciardi. Then the strengthen international cooperation, to reinforce openness, open science policies, to rationalize the funding landscape, and to encourage participation. So, given these lessons learned, the preliminary structure of the program is the following. And actually, Pillar 1 remains very similar. Under research infrastructures, of course, we are discussing what will be the major point, because for the past years, the major point was sustainability, long-term sustainability. This has been the real problem of research infrastructure. Nowadays, I think that there will be more focus on open data and open sources, and the correlation between infrastructures and the EOSC. So that's probably what's going to happen. The Pillar 2 is mixing what was before industrial with what is not industrial into the, of course, global challenges. So global challenges remains, but they will be taken over in a different way, together between industry and academia or research centers. And the Pillar 3 is totally dedicated to industrial, let's say, the most innovative industrial part of the program. Also, the funding has been discussed, but of course, the total amount that here is, I hope it's not a wishful thinking, but there's 100 billion. It is not said that it's going to be like this, but the distribution anyway is the following. And overall, 25.8 billions are on excellent sciences. And probably, if this remains the same, the amount dedicated to infrastructure will also remain the same. While ERC and Marie Slowacka-Curie probably will increase a little bit compared to the actual program. The point that made the Commission deciding to increase both these two programs than the infrastructure is because infrastructures, their role into research has not been very well established after all these years. So the impact that the infrastructure should have is still a matter of debate. And although certainly ELIXIR is succeeding, we have to say that this is not the same for many of those infrastructures. So it is a little bit of a problem. The major, one of the things that is very focused on the next program is the European partnership. And the idea is to have a new objective-driven and more ambitious partnership of co-programmed, co-funded, and institutionalized. So this is already really putting on the same level the research that is performed on the private, public, industry, academia, whatever it is. So it should be thought together. And the other thing that is very stressed, you know already this, is open science. This is very relevant for ELIXIR, I would say, because one of the things that infrastructure are doing is that they are generating a lot of quality data. And this data actually should be the real test for open science. I really believe that if we are not, being a doctor myself, a medical doctor, if we are not, particularly for life science, are going to start with very good and controlled and quality data, the open science will fail, and particularly the open data. So this is very important, and it's one of the major addresses that we are going to have on the future infrastructure. And finally, I hope, but this is again wishful thinking, the proposal for synergies with other union programs. This is something that in all the panels, there is Daniela Corda here, who is similar to me, but in the panel of ERC and Marie Curie, we are all asking more communication amongst different programs of the DGs, because DG Research doesn't talk to DG Connect, who doesn't talk to DG Health, who doesn't talk to the others. So this is all the word is all the same, but also with other union programs that are very important. For example, structural funds that are very important, particularly for infrastructures. Let's go now to what's going on with research infrastructure. Well, you know that the roadmap of research infrastructure is governed and is thought by ESFRI, okay? A forum, which is a forum, but who has been working on many roadmaps. You see, we are now 5 roadmaps. And they are working now on the roadmap 2021. And over the time, some of these boxes remain the same, some changed. And for example, for what is of importance today, biomedical and life sciences now is called health and food. So again, this will be very important for the next years, and the relevance of the infrastructures under this box is very important. The ESFRI defined 2 different roadmaps, one for landmarks and one for new projects, because most of these infrastructure actually are operating since 2006, so since quite more than 10 years now. And one of that is operating, we look only at health and food, of course, that is operating certainly is ELIXIR, together with biobanking, translational medicine, clinical trials, preclinical models, and protein structures, for example. These have been established in 2006. Then in 2008, we have some more infrastructure that are all becoming consortia by now, such as Eurobioimaging. And nowadays we have some new entry In 2010, these were the one is this is synthesis biology, and this is microbiology, but they are not established yet, and probably they won't establish. Emphasis is okay, and the most recent one are IBISBA, which is on biology and let's say, and it's not bioinformatics, it is bioengineering and biology, and Metrofood, which is from ELEA on the health part. All these infrastructures are related and should be related on different levels. If we think here we have the part that is more basic research, and here the clinical part, okay? There are some infrastructure that really across all the fields, from basic to clinical part, and some of doesn't. And certainly bioinformatics across for all the different fields, together with structural biology, where you see here translational medicine, biobanking, and clinical research on this side. This is very important to create a link amongst biomed infrastructure, because the level of over field and particularly the collaboration that can be done into cluster, for example, for biomedical part is not easy to obtain, and should be driven by some force. One of the first is certainly the health challenge. So I say that ESRI decided to have health and food, and they decided to have this table for health, where you have here the health challenge from health to disease, and here the levels of organization from molecules to population, and the different colors are referring to landmarks or project of the infrastructures. So what you have here is that you locate the different infrastructure depending on their level of organization and health challenge. And you see, for example, that a CRIN, which is a clinical trial, of course, is up here because it regards population and it works on diseases. While ELIXIR is all around. So it has really a difficult task, ELIXIR, that is not only that of providing data to the community, whatever the community is, whether industrial or academia, doesn't matter, but also to work with the other infrastructures, because it's really the basis of is really the what is crossing all the fields, going from molecules to population and going from health to disease. So it's very comprehensive. It really is one of the best ways to reply to the revolution in biology. So when we have the high throughput technologies, comprehensive data for individuals, and emphasis on system, really it has a very important task. Also, the other one that I'm not showing here is that is one of, is not only a European infrastructure, but it is a world infrastructure, because in this sense, I mean, you know, the data that should be actually be exchanged with all the countries outside Europe, so it's not really only European country. What's going on from ESRI to commission? In the panel where I stay, we have different programs, of course, and ELIXIR is participating to this as well. And I have this brief presentation of what are the relative successes of the different infrastructures. If you see the number of grants per domain, of course, life science has the highest number, and it is followed by environment and physics. So there are many infrastructures, but very active. And the problem, in my point of view, is that it's difficult to understand at which point one stops and the other one starts. Also, in terms of contribution per domain, life science has the highest contribution, and that is quite normal. I mean, there are many, and they are usually not that cheap. The participation to the grant. We have here a table of the participation of ERIC. ERIC is a form of consortium that ELIXIR didn't follow, so it's not on this slide. And you see here that how much they participated into the research infrastructure part and in other parts. Certainly the life science ERIC are very active, like biobanking, ECRIN, well, this is neutron sources, Instruct, InfraFrontier, you see that they are very active. When you go to the non-ERIC, and so to other European research infrastructure, you see that MBL, which is the funder of ELIXIR, is highest than CERN. So you won over CERN, which is something. CERN is very active as well, and also that it participated, yes, to RI, but also to other parts of the program. So it's very active. And I think that the Commission will continue in put efforts on the work on this type of research. The strategic, at a certain point in the panel, Fossar, who is our, who used to be, now and they changed, our chief, said that the strategy of the research infrastructure was not really following the general strategy. In particular, that demonstration of the role of research infrastructure in open science into open innovation. This is a problem because the participation of industry in and the level of innovation in research infrastructure is much lower than in other fields. And that is because research actually infrastructure, they are born and they started with the research idea, not much a service idea. And to combine research and service is not natural, so it has to be built, it has to be thought, and it has to be realized using different skills, probably than the one that we have in academia. So the results of this is that many of these infrastructures do not do much innovation and are not used by industry and do not include industry as well. So the Commission at this point promoted and actually granted a new grant that is not regarding life sciences, but I want to show it to you because it's a model that is very interesting, that is Attract. Actually, Attract was participated by EMBL as well, and Attract really tried to answer to the association between the scientific results and the commercial application. And it proposed to co-create a new field where industry are part of the program. It has been done for the moment on sensors. Doesn't matter. It could be done on any also different. But the idea, you see, these are the participating center, is to build a consortium done by both research centers and industrial partners, interested especially in sensor in this case. And the consortium is mandated by the EU in the framework to organize open calls, monitor their execution, promote a training program, and develop evaluation tool for quantitative impact assessment. So they just launched the idea. Let's see who in Europe has the best idea on a new sensor, a very breakthrough innovative sensor. And they had many, and there was a phase 1 study. They selected the 170 potential breakthrough proposal, and now they have to go on with the financing 10 of these best in the phase 2 trial. where the participation of SME and ERI is granted and is by the code themselves. This is the result. If you see that there are many countries that participated, but also many organizations. I don't see very well here the image, but you see SME and startup are here, and this is university. So there is a strong participation of SME, and this is a way to create together this innovation and go from open science to open innovation, and is a model that really can be applied to many different fields. What we'll do next, was conceived as a multiple stage process, and so is working on the next step to scale up to a tier level higher and higher, and to go at the edge of the commercial part. And after age 2020 should find opportunity in the EIC, so the European Innovation Council that I showed you before. And this is as a double, I'm showing this to you with a double aim. One is to say that this is a model that can be applied to other parts. And the second one is that this is something that the European Commission is really seeking, and it's really something that can be also transferred to national policies, not only the European ones. I want to conclude with three thoughts that actually the previous speaker already brought, so they are not very original. But it's very important when we think about infrastructures that we don't stop to the technological part. Technology is only a little bit of the thing, of the game. So to get something out of stronger from the infrastructure, stronger from what has been done now, as I said, these are structures that are actually working since 10, 15, 14 years, 13 years. And still, I have to say that in Italy, if I go to I've been rector of a university, so I visit many universities. And I would say that 80% of my colleagues don't know anything about infrastructure. They don't know they exist, okay? So there is something that we have to do in order to take the major advantages we can take from this infrastructure. And the first one is to work together with industry, because I realized during my life that when industry starts and really point out to a project that is working, then the government and then also all the rest and the ecosystem answer to it. And so to exchange ideas and action amongst us. Improve communication, dissemination and open access, and also improving knowledge and skills that you already said. So the ecosystem you mentioned in Katrina is very important, and other than the government, which is here represented by public administration, we have industry, we have research, and we have citizen. So the components are not only the two that are here, but without government and citizen we can't do much. One of the ideas of the infrastructure was actually that of being also known by the citizen. This is coming from physicists mainly, so when they build synchrotrons or things like that, they really like the people working, living close by to know what they are doing, so there is an involvement of that. But this should be done also for, let's say, clouding and data that are not visible, but they are absolutely there. The communication, I already talked about the fair, open, responsible. This is mandatory for all the fields and for life science, I would say particularly. And openness and transparencies and all this part is very important for really running this type of research, particularly because it's a mix between research and service, which again I really think is difficult. And finally, this is my last slide, people. You already said that there are a lot of training programs, but we have to anticipate not only to the training but also to the teaching program. We are not investing enough in new discipline, in Italy at least. Bioinformatics, data scientists is something that universities are realizing now. There are courses, but certainly they do not provide the amount of people we really need in these fields in order to be competitive and to maintain competitiveness. When you talk about this infrastructure, and you don't have it only those, it's the last one. You have also to work about ethics, legal, social, economical management. So management is one of the really key points of infrastructure that is very important. Of course, combine multidisciplinary teams, invest on PhD programs in training, which is very important, and exchange progress and research between the different partners. This is, as I always say, that when infrastructure asks for funding, that's okay. You have to be updated, have the new technologies, but if you don't have the people working there, the project is failing. So I think I want to conclude, as usual, with the importance of people, and thank you very much for your attention.